Hi, Ed here from keywordspeopleuse.com, and I've got an exclusive time-limited offer for you. If you book a product demo with Keywords People Use, I'll give you a free 7-day trial of our standard plan, which allows you access to our new content optimization tool. This tool hooks into your Google Search Console data so we can find all the keywords you're ranking for and what pages are ranking. We then crawl your site content and use advanced machine learning techniques like embeddings and cosine similarity to find you content optimization opportunities that will quickly boost your impressions and clicks from Google. This new feature in Keywords People Use is already showing results for people using it. Don't miss out on the opportunity of a 7-day free trial. Just go to keywordspeopleuse.com/demo to book your slot. That's keywordspeopleuse.com/demo. You'll find the link in the show notes of this episode. Hi, Ed Dawson here. And as I'm a bit busy at the moment and need a break, welcome to another one of my Best of SEO is Not That Hard podcasts. These are the episodes from the back catalogue that I think have the greatest hits and ones that are still relevant and provide great value for you. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome to SEO is Not That Hard. I'm your host, Ed Dawson, the founder of keywordspeopleuse.com, the place to find and organise the questions people ask online. I'm an SEO, developer, affiliate marketer and entrepreneur. I've been building and monetizing websites for over 20 years, and I've bought and sold a few along the way. I'm here to share with you the SEO knowledge, hints and tips I've built up over the years. Hello and welcome back to SEO is Not That Hard. It's me here, Ed Dawson, hosting as usual. And today I'm going to do a podcast about the Flywheel Effect in content marketing. And this has been requested by a listener, Michelle, who found the click here to record a question link that's in the show notes to every podcast episode, where you can actually just click and ask a question and, I'll feature on the show. So here's Michelle's question.
Hey, Ed. My name's Michelle. I've got a question for you. In your podcast about your latest integrations with Google Search Console and this idea of embeddings and making your tool very unique, you mentioned the flywheel effect. I was wondering if you could do a podcast on the components of that flywheel and what's the ultimate outcome. Thanks, mate.
Thanks so much for the question, Michelle, and I'll do my best to try and give you a good answer. Okay, so first of all, flywheel. What is a flywheel? Well, a flywheel is it's a thing that's used in engines and other industrial uses, and it's basically a big circular disc or a wheel that's really heavy. Okay, and it's used in engines to smooth out and store energy. The key thing about a flywheel is it's heavy. It takes a lot of energy to get moving. Once it's moving, it kind of sustains itself. It needs much less energy to sort of sustain itself or to speed it up. So this whole idea around it being heavy and difficult to start, but once you get moving, it kind of sustains itself, is the whole flywheel effect that we can translate as an analogy to content marketing and SEO. Now, the term the flywheel effect was popularized by Jim Collins in his book called Good to Great. So in this, he talks about imagining trying to push a massive heavy wheel. Now, at first, it will barely move and you've got to push harder and it starts to turn just a little. And as you keep applying a sort of steady, consistent effort, the wheel starts to gain momentum and eventually it's spinning so fast it almost seems like it's moving on its own, requiring very little effort to maintain its speed. So in the context of business, the flywheel affects how consistent actions build momentum over time. And this leads to a compounding growth. So it's not just one big push or a single breakthrough. It's about lots of small, little strategic steps and efforts working together to create a long-term success. So when we apply this to content marketing, you can see how the flywheel effect is a kind of effect of taking little steps consistently over and over again will start to build that momentum and get you moving forward faster and faster. And almost to the point where it feels like after a while it builds its own momentum and starts doing things by itself. So in terms of the flywheel effect in content marketing, so how does it actually work? Well, first of all, you've got your initial push, right? And that's your content. Content is always the initial push. So this is the very we're pushing on the stationary flywheel. Okay, so we're going to create blogs, we might create videos, podcasts, web pages, websites. It feels like you're shouting into a void to start with. There's no traffic, there's no audience, there's no backlinks. You're at the very initial phase. It's hard. Okay, I know it's hard. I've been there so many times, but it's normal. Okay, just like with the flywheel, the first push is always the hardest. You have to keep creating, publishing, and promoting your content, even when the results aren't immediate. So when I started this podcast back, September 2023, no one was listening, and I knew no one was listening, but I just had to keep going. Okay, you've got to talk into the void. You've got to create the content, even though it feels like no one's listening and it feels pointless. Okay, it is at the start, but it's not actually pointless. The point is you're starting to push that flywheel. Now, as you continue producing this content, you'll start to see results. This is when we're starting to build momentum. So maybe a blog post gets shared on social media, or, an article starts to rank on the second page of Google and starts to get the occasional click. These are the small little wins that they're like the flywheel starting to turn. So the key thing is, though, these wins don't happen in isolation. Each piece of content can drive traffic, which might lead to a backlink, which then helps improve, how Google sees your site. The more links you've got, we know it impacts your search engine rankings, getting those links. So that first link that comes along starts to build your authority. It starts to lift everything else. And then each of these little successes then starts to build on the last one. So this compounds over time. And these efforts, all these content efforts, all this work you've put in starts to snowball. So as your site's authority starts to grow, your new content will rank faster and it'll bring you more traffic. And that traffic will generate more engagement, more leads, and then even potentially more backlinks. And because you're consistently publishing, this cycle continues. And at this stage, it's like the flywheel is spinning faster and faster, okay? And it takes less effort to keep it going, because your previous efforts are working for you. So the big thing being, obviously, once you start to build that authority, every new piece of content you build will rank quicker and faster and draw in more traffic than it would do if you published it at the very start. But it's only because of all that work you put in at the start that it actually is working for you. And this is the flywheel effect in content marketing. So if you want to sort of apply the flywheel effect to the maximum extent, there's a few things you've got to do. Okay, first of all, you've got to focus on consistency. It really, really, really makes a difference if you're consistent. So if you can create a content schedule and that you can stick to, then do it. Whether that's once a week for a blog post or once every 2 weeks for a video. The key is to keep showing up every time consistently if you can. If you notice, I do a podcast every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's the consistency I've built into this podcast, and that's what people have come to expect. And the fact that that's now there, that is part of the flywheel. People know I'll be there, people know I'll show up, and it's that consistency that is key. Second thing is repurpose where you can. So, obviously it's great to reuse content where you can. I do with this podcast. Every podcast leads to a newsletter post, it leads to a blog post, it leads to a LinkedIn post. And now also video, myself doing these a lot of the time, and I use little video clips to put in LinkedIn. So yeah, repurposing where you can is great, because it means you can work on that piece of content once, but then reuse it multiple times. Always try and be quality, okay? I know it's difficult, but you shouldn't publish rubbish if you can avoid it. Although don't let quality become such a driver that you don't do anything. I've done previous podcasts, you don't need to be perfect. To turn up is better than not to turn up, but do try and be good when you do it. And then track and adjust. So see what's working. So, as your flywheel starts turning, pay attention to what works, because not everything will work. Some things will work better than others. So keep an eye on your analytics, see what's getting engagement, and then double down on those areas that really work to keep that momentum going. Now, one particular way that I use keywords people use and the flywheel effect is in their Google search integration tool, or content optimization tool that Michelle was referring to, that I was talking about in the previous podcasts, was implementing that flywheel effect on individual pieces of content, individual pages. So within that tool that we've built, you can now see, because we connect to Google Search Console, we can see what queries your pieces of content are ranking on and where they are ranking, their sort of average ranking position, which means we can identify on existing pieces of content where they're almost ranking, almost getting traffic, but not, but they're not quite ranking high enough. Those areas of opportunity where you can improve a piece of content to, build on the flywheel that it's already built up within that individual piece, because every individual piece of content is its own flywheel. And as it starts to gain more traffic, it will gain more traffic. It will gain more keywords that it starts ranking for. As it starts coming up the search engine rankings, it starts being sort of appreciated essentially by Google as it builds its page rank and all those kind of things, and those metrics that rises it up. As it rises up, it will start to drag in more keywords that it's not quite ranking for. Sorry, it's not quite driving traffic for, but it's starting to rank for. And these are the easiest wins when it comes to improving a piece of content and getting those extra terms ranking, because to write a whole new piece of content is a lot more work than just improving an existing piece. Okay, so again, this is the flywheel. We've that piece of content's built momentum, and we only have to give it a little push by altering the content, updating the content, adding a little bit of extra context, some more synonyms, all those kind of things to get it, to push it just that little bit higher, and it starts generating more traffic for itself. And this is again the flywheel effect. And then you could do that across all your pages. You've got all these little flywheels, each individual page is a flywheel working together and building momentum that then pulls them all up, and then you get that one big flywheel of your entire site. And this is what we mean. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about the flywheel effect of the the content optimization tool, that Google Search Console integration that we've built, so that we can understand your content and understand how it's ranking and where it could be improved. Think of the sort of personalized optimizations specific to your site that we can do. And this helps that flywheel. This is the flywheel I'm talking about. So I hope, Michelle, that's helped clarify things a bit. I hope to answer your question. If anybody else has got any questions, SEO-wise, content marketing-wise, anything related to the podcast or anything I talk about, just do follow that link. It's in the show notes of every episode, and it just says click here to record a question. And you'll find it, there in the show notes. Dead simple, dead easy. And I'm love to answer any questions in the podcast, so please just to leave them. And so, until next time, keep optimizing, stay curious, and remember, SEO is not that hard when you understand the basics. Before I go, I just wanted to let you know that if you'd like a personal demo of our tools that Keywords People use, that you can book a free, no obligation, one-on-one video call with me, where I show you how we can help you level up your content by finding and answering the questions your audience actually have. You can also ask me any SEO questions you have. You just need to go to keywordspeopleuse.com/demo, where you can pick a time and date that suits you for us to catch up. Once again, that's keywordspeopleuse.com/demo, and you can also find that link in the show notes of today's episode. Hope to chat with you soon. Thanks for being a listener. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe and share. It really helps. SEO is not that hard. It's brought to you by keywordspeopleuse.com, the place to find and organise the questions people ask online. See why thousands of people use us every day. Try it today for free at keywordspeopleuse.com. To get an instant hit of more SEO tips, then find the link to download a free copy of my 101 quick SEO tips in the show notes of today's episode. If you want to get in touch, have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. I'm at Channel5 on Twitter. You can email me at podcast@keywordspeopleuse.com. Bye for now, and see you in the next episode of SEO is Not That Hard.